Have a good one.
What's up, JJ? Dude, I was theory crafting today. In fact, I'd almost rather go over that real quickly and nerd out over my Warlock Tank theory crafting than... In fact, I have time to kill. Let's see, how can I set this up? Like, I already have multiple plans for, like, talents and theories of what it could end up being. The problem is I did all on my phone, because Wowhead's mobile app does this super annoying thing where it's constantly playing, like, the Dragonflight trailer video, but it's playing it, like, it completely bugs out on the mobile version, so it's hiding all the buttons and the functionality. Yeah, I made a lot of... I made 5 talent trees. 2 of them kind of go hand in hand. One of them is a little, like, inconsequential. Okay, so, Bree, you're a little late, but don't worry. I'll catch up to speed. I was telling JJ, while I was at work today, and I was, like, on my breaks and in the bathroom at times, I was just getting so excited again thinking about Warlock tanking, and I theory crafted a lot of talent trees. So these are in no particular order, so I kind of have to open them all and go through them all and remind myself which one is which. That one's going to be like the primary one, I can already tell. That one is the... So those 2 are going to go hand in hand. I want to find, like, one of them is just like the starting one, because we're only going to have a level cap of 25, right? So it's not going to really matter in the long term. It's more just like theory crafting of what future Warlock tank builds are going to look like, right? Without a doubt, right off the bat, Warlock tanking is going to rely completely on these 3 talents right here. There is no way it will not... You will have to use these 3 talents to Warlock tank. There's no shot about it. Getting an instant corruption is already extremely important for Warlock, but improving your life tap is really big, because with Metamorphosis, you get double the mana back when you life tap. So improving the amount of mana you get even more is huge, and then improving drain life so that you can self-sustain better when you expense that HP is going to be very crucial. Since the level cap's only going to be 25 though, for the beginning, you're only going to have like 4 other talent points to use for this first tier of Season of Discovery. And there's some ways you can play around with that. I'm thinking I'll put it in this, which increases my stamina. So I'll put 4 points into Demonic Embrace to get 12% more stamina, 4% less spirit. I think it also would be viable to do it into Shadow Bolt. Shadow Bolt changes into a melee cleave, so you could get some really big melee cleave and threat generation off of that if you need to. I also think, though, that improving the Imp would be worthwhile, as if you fully improve the Imp, you improve Blood Pack by 30%. And, like, let me just pull up my Imp right now in game so I can see. Obviously, I have an upgraded version of Blood Pack, so it's not exact, but it should roughly equate to something. Because it just gives a stat line stamina boost, and adding like 30% of that boost will greatly increase the stamina at later levels, obviously. So I could see this one being viable. Also improving the health stone, just making the health stone stronger, and that still gives you another point. That's the thing, is if you did Imp, you could do 3 into Imp, and then you could do 1 point in stamina, 1 point in the health stone. You have another point that you can throw somewhere else. But regardless, the point is, you're going to have to use these 3. You could potentially use this as well, Amplify Curse. And what this would mean is, if you're leaning kind of into the Affliction side of tanking, you can improve Curse of Weakness this way. And what this means is, you increase Curse of Weakness by 20%, and then with this one, you increase the effect of Curse of Weakness and Curse of Agony by 50%. And it lasts longer. It lasts longer? Oh, right. So this is an instant cast. So you use this, and then you slap it with Curse of Weakness, which helps some of your mitigation a little bit, just giving your Warlock a really strong Curse of Weakness. So some interesting tools to play with, but I think that in the end, you're not going to have a whole lot of experimenting to do, because these 3 talents, you can't function without these 3 talents. There's just no way. Going into what I want to do, because I love my Demonology Warlock here in Classic WoW. I would want to lean into a Demonology Warlock Tank. So let me find the tree. So here's kind of the thing with this. It would have to, you have to put your talents a certain way and then like start over, essentially. You'd have to wipe your, also I'm gonna move this out of the way so that we don't have to deal with, don't be showing some random ass ad on my stream. At a certain point, you'd have to change your talents. I forget which level it'd be. It'd be around like the level 30 range, maybe. I'm thinking, yeah, maybe around the level 30s. Actually, no, I'm literally in this level right now. So, actually, like late 30s going into the 40s, you'd have to go and wipe your talents. But you would start off with those 3 crucial ones I talked about, but then you would come right back over to Demonology and increase your stamina as much as you can, improve the imp, because the imp will be very beneficial to a warlock tank, because they have Blood Pact, which we already talked about, which increases your HP, and the HP of everybody. And also they give you Fire Shield, so if you don't have a druid to give you barbs, you'll get Fire Shield instead, which is really good. And in making your health stone stronger, which you need HP. Doing this gets you 10 points, so you can grab Fell Domination for the quick summons, which might be important. I could see you being in situations where you want to quickly summon a Voidwalker and eat it to give yourself sacrifice and get a big old bubble on yourself as a tank if you want to mitigate more. Unfortunately, like, improved Voidwalker is completely useless to you. I mean, you could put it in there to make sacrifice stronger, but then you'd have to really lean into like making sacrifice a core party rotation in your kit, and I think that's just a little bit too hard to pull off. Really, sacrifice just needs to be this one-time use deal. So I don't think you want to go too strong. You don't want to put any points into this. So instead, just spend some on mana until you get enough points to start getting into these higher tiers. So Master Summoner decreases mana and summon time on all your summons. Unholy Power to make all of your demons 20% more powerful. I forget at which point. Hold on, I can just quickly redo this once I get on this flight path.
Time is money, friend. Keep it real.
Right. So we reset this. So you go all stamina, buff your boy, get your health stone. You're finally able to get this, but you need to burn some points. So you just up the mana of your demon so that they can do a little bit more in a fight. Get Master Summoner, Unholy Power, make it stronger. Demonic Sacrifice. We need to burn a little bit more so we can get to this point. So we'll do that. We'll increase the HP a little bit, just to kill points, you know, for a level. But once we hit this point, ignoring what's happening over here, because obviously I already built that out, you're going to have to change. In fact, I'll just do it now. So if we were to hypothesize this, when you hit level 46, you'd have to reset your talents. Or actually, it would be 47. Because once you get to Master Demonologist, improved imp becomes worthless. You do not want your imp out when you have Master Demonologist as a tank warlock, because it gives all these different buffs when you have demons out, right? Voidwalker, reduce physical damage, amazing. Succubus, increases your damage, amazing. Bell Hunter, increases all resistances multiplicatively by your level, amazing for a tank. But imp, which reduces threat, you don't want that as a tank. I think that's extremely obvious. So you're gonna have to reset your talents and start over, which is what I have for this build, where instead of doing improved imp, you go into Fell Intellect, and then you instead put points into improving your Succubus, which I really wish there was an improved Fell Hunter, because I think the Fell Hunter would be much more beneficial in many situations than the Succubus, especially, and because it has the resistance buffs. But it is what it is, and the Succubus at least does decent damage, and when it's out, it gives you a very good damage buff with Unholy Power or Master Demonologist. So that's all fine and dandy. And what this ends up turning into is, if you have your Voidwalker out, 10% reduced physical damage. If you have your Fell Hunter out, you get 1 point in every resistance, which depending on your level. So when you're level 60, you get 60 to all resistances, which is awesome. Stacked on top of your demon armor for shadow resistance specifically. And then Soul Link, which is really good for this. When active, 30% of all damage taken by the caster is taken by your demon instead. And you do 3% more damage, and so does your demon. So you can have your Void Walker there to just be like a health battery for you. As you're taking damage, some of it's offloaded to the Void Walker, and you're getting the 10% reduced damage reduction. So you could bring up the Void Walker, go full, you know, just raw mitigation like that. Once the Void Walker starts taking a little bit too much damage, because you're going to get tons of healing, but the Void Walker's not. When the Void Walker is about to die, sacrifice, Fell Domination, summon up Fell Hunter, Succubus, depending on the fight, and just keep going. You know, no biggie. They'll probably go down eventually too, but... And then you could actually just bring out the Void Walker, actually, if you just want to keep the mitigation going. Or if you think you could get some chip damage in, or if you want the resistances, you could bring out the Fell Hunter or the Succubus. But I could also see there being a scenario where you don't take this talent. Instead, you just build up to this one, and instead you take this talent point and use it elsewhere in case the demon dying too often could be annoying. But I think that there's potential for you to keep getting mana back that will make it not too painful to just quickly summon up another demon, you know, mid-fight. And there might even be a time where you need to swap aggro for whatever reason. If you're the off tank, it'll be really clutch because you're not taking much damage anyways, and you're just sitting there being able to do output and just be there as the secondary if you don't want to be main Warlock tank. And then once you hit this point, I think it's good to get these skills we talked about earlier over here, these talents to increase cursive weaknesses effectiveness, and maybe also get suppression, so that way there's a 10% reduced chance for them to resist your dots when you're throwing dots on them, because that could be really annoying as a tank. Like, those dots being up is going to help build some aggro. And actually, I forgot, we should go over what these skills are for Seasons of Discovery that are obviously, like, these are very clearly going to be the tanking runes. First off, Metamorphosis, you need this to tank. The one that I thought was really interesting is Master Channeler. Your drain life is no longer channeled. Lasts 15 seconds with a 15-second cooldown, costs 100% more mana, and heals you for 50% more HP over time, and it deals damage. So effectively, drain life becomes a dot, which is super, super nice. Like, you don't have to worry about... Like, there's this talent over here, which gives you a chance to avoid interruption when doing your channeled spells, which at max investment is at 70%, and we'll get into that later. Which is nice, like, but then you'd be playing this game if there's that 30% chance that when you're getting autoed or hit, your channel's going to get cut down, and that's going to hurt your mana efficiency. It's going to reduce the HP you're obviously getting. But instead, you can just turn into a dot and just slap the dot on them, in which case, there's probably a chance that they can resist that dot, and you don't want them resisting that dot. So suppression's going to be really good. And the other one is Demonic Grace. Surge with Fell Energy, increasing you and your pet's own dodge chance by 30%. And you have a chance to critically strike with all attacks by 30% for 6 seconds. Obviously, just a good mitigation, good damage output. This would be useful for a lot of builds, but this is definitely, like, of these options, this is the best one for tanking, from what I could assume, just taking a snapshot. So this is what I think is the potential of a Demonologist tanking Warlock. Obviously, it's going to be a while before we see any of this, and there's going to be more runes introduced, so it could completely change. But this is what I'm kind of wanting to go for first, but there are other build potentials with the other talents that I think could be interesting as well. That one is kind of like my real harebrained Steam one. The other option is Affliction. All right, so this one could go one of two ways. On that first one I showed y'all, where it turns drain life into a dot. You could instead get Soul Siphon, which increases the amount of HP drained by 6, and it increases depending on how many dots and debuffs you have on the target. So you could get up to 18%, which is really cool. So you could stack onto that. But that means it won't be a dot. So if you're going full Affliction, you would start speccing into that one where it reduces the chance of being interrupted when channeling. Since your dots are going to be more important, you're still going to want Suppression. And then we get down to here further in the chain where you get a new ability, Siphon Life, transfers 15 HP from the target to the caster every 3 seconds. So this is another drain life dot that you can just effectively, like, throw onto the target with your other debuffs. And with Soul Siphon, it all buffs up drain life. So you're going to be getting a lot of HP back. Shadow Mastery increases the damage dealt or life drained by your shadow spells by 10%. Just another 10% buff, which means you're getting even more HP on Soul Drain. And then Dark Pact, which drains 150 of your pet's mana, giving it to you. So effectively, you get a life tap that doesn't cost HP. It doesn't cost you anything. You could just have your pet there. Like, you could bring a Fell Hunter or a Succubus and just have them auto attack, and you could just use them as a mana battery. Just tap mana from them whenever you want it, right? They'll be helping out passively. You could also bring the Imp just for the stamina buff. Obviously, it won't be as strong as if you were doing improved Imp, but it's something. And maybe giving out fire shields occasionally, just not using their mana, and that's just a mana pool for you to pull from. I haven't checked if the demons have different mana pools. They probably do, and that could greatly affect what's the best way to use this one, but I'll have to look into that more. And then you could put these 18 points into Demonology, into some of the other stuff we talked about, just upping your HP, getting a health stone, your health stone stronger. In this case, improved Imp would actually be good because you're not going to get Master Demonologist, so it's not going to reduce your threat generation. So in this case, it could be very worthwhile. Effectively, you're getting a ton of self-sustain from Affliction, and you could really increase your healing pool with Demonology. But when I was initially making this list, I was testing out how much could I get into Destruction, and I'll go into that now, I'm guessing. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to cover before going into this. Oh, that's right. You can increase the maximum mana of this. All right, let me just reset this real quick. So we could go boom, 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 and then let's go with maybe this. Yeah, maybe that. So you have this one where you can pull mana from your pets, and then you can go all in on Fell Intellect and give your pets 15% more max mana. So just feeding into that, bring out your improved Imp, give everyone a stamina buff, your stamina is buffed, and then I put the last 3 points into this one, but you could still get Fell Domination if you want, if for whatever reason you do need to quickly summon another pet mid-fight, so you could still get that. Oh, and Master Summoner too. It's right at that point where you cross into that tier, so yeah. You could actually get the benefit of having instant pet summons still. So I actually think that this would be a better way to build it, or what I was experimenting with over here. And we'll go into what that is right when I take a sip of water, because I'm talking a lot, I'm talking fast, as we only have 15 minutes till I have to switch over to DSR. Oh wait, this is the wrong one. This is the starting build. Here it is. So something very important about when you become a tanking warlock is that Searing Pain is an instant cast. Searing Pain is a single target, fast. Normally it's a fast cast, but obviously when you transform, it's going to be instant cast, and it causes high amounts of threat. So it's going to be your single target aggro sustaining move. Problem is, it's kind of down far in this destruction tree, which doesn't give a lot that would really help. So I was kind of messing around with the possibility of a destruction tanking warlock. You could get reduced mana cost for your destruction spells, which helps with mana sustain. Your Shadow Bolt, which I'm assuming this would apply to your new Shadow Bolt becoming Shadow Cleave, which is your AoE aggro generation. Shadow Bolt critically strikes. Shadow damage dealt to the target increases the shadow damage dealt to the target by 20% until 4 non-periodic damage sources are applied. So just kind of feeding into I would see no reason why this wouldn't apply to Shadow Cleave. Like, there's no reason it wouldn't, and it would just make like cleaving down mobs really fast, I would hope and assume, if you get your crits off and everything, because you'd hit them, you'd crit, and then you'd cleave again, and all those things you just crit on. You're just cleaving for even more damage. It's gonna be really easy for you to keep aggro, hopefully, in dungeons and AoE situations. Once that's done, we skip these two. I didn't think that they were very helpful. Let's see, gives destruction spells a 2% chance to daze the target for 5 seconds. That's dumb. That's not going to help you in high-end tanking. Reduces casting time of Shadow Bolt. That's not going to do anything. Shadow Bolt's now an instant cleave. So Devastation increases critical strike chance for all destruction spells by 5%. And why that is interesting is once you get that one, you can move on to the next tier. Increases critical strike chance for your Searing Pain spell by 10%. So you're increasing Searing Pains. I'm not sure if these stack up for a total of 15% or if it's multiplicative and they downscale over time and they don't stack quite exactly, but this is why you should just always stream. Well, this is a special thing. This is just like, this has been dominating my thoughts for the past week. I've just been obsessing over this. But yeah, so your single target high aggro generating attack is gonna have very good crit chance. So you can you'll be hitting for a decent amount of damage and keeping aggro very efficiently with Searing Pain this way. Then 70% chance to resist interruptions. Wait, what? I don't remember picking this. I think I was picking this one just because I wanted to see, because when I was doing this on mobile, it doesn't let you preview the later talents until you put talent points in. Let me see. Gives them a chance to resist interruption. The stun is interesting, but so let's get rid of that. Actually, I don't like any of that. Firebolt. I don't like any of these for tanking. Increasing range. Sure, you know. And hold on, real quickly, I just want to make sure that this isn't messing with, like, you know, it isn't gonna, it seems like talents are all still good. Yeah, we're all still good. So, increases critical strike damage bonus of all destruction spells by 100%. So this really high crit chance we've just given ourselves, now it's gonna hit really hard when we crit. Increases the initial damage of Immolate by 5%. This one is kind of tricky because Immolate is still not an instant cast. Reduces cast time of shovels. Let's see, if we fully cap this one, this only takes half a second off of Immolate, which makes a second and a half, but that's still enough time for you to get autoed, and that means that you're going to be stuck having to try and cast Immolate, which is kind of what makes this, that's the one thing that sucks about tanking Warlock, is that if you're the main tank, Immolate's going to become kind of useless to you, unless they eventually add another rune that makes it an instant cast or function differently. Immolate's going to be kind of useless. So, I mean, this could be good to increase that initial damage of Immolate, but then it comes down to, can you get that cast off? The other problem is that we need to spend 4 more talent points to get to this one, which is increases damage done by all your fire spells. Pretty much all we're doing on the destruction side is just trying to make Searing Pain as powerful as possible to hold single target aggro and do decent damage at the same time. There's just not a lot of great... I'm curious. I'm very curious about this one, because what this does... Wait, this doesn't change. It's Curse of Recklessness that the range gets changed on. Okay, that totally changes this. This one could be a little niche, but a little worthwhile. Because getting Searing Pain off as like your ranged taunt effectively, that deals a little bit of damage, would be very helpful. Having like an extra 20% range on this bad boy, and if it crits, you're gonna hit pretty darn hard. But that's the thing, is then you're just stuck with 2 talent points. It's like none of these are really gonna help. Whereas this interruption, but this doesn't apply to Immolate. If this applied to Immolate, I would totally say like grab this one and grab this one to reduce the cast time, and you won't get interrupted. You can just get Immolate off real quickly, and then get improved Immolate to make it even stronger. Unfortunately, though, we kind of have to just throw a talent point into something dumb that doesn't really. Maybe Shadowburn. Shadowburn sounds nice, but also just kind of niche. I think this would actually no, Shadowburn would be helpful as a tank. Since you're in melee range, you're going to be getting meleeed. You don't want to be doing Drain Soul. So Shadowburn is probably what we want. That actually changes things a lot. Wow. You might find yourself in a lot of situations where you want Shadowburn as a tank while you're leveling. Now that I'm thinking about it, you need to replenish on soul shards. I'll have to think about that one again. Wow. And I mean, you'd only have to put in points into these 2. Ooh. I wasn't paying attention to this or thinking about that when I was putting this together, like, very quickly on my break at work. Ooh, that changes things. Good. I mean, if you're fighting humanoids, they're going to run away in fear, and that's probably your chance to soul drain, but this is going to be very helpful. Very helpful. for a melee built Warlock. I mean, I guess you could throw it into this in case you bring your succubus out. You're kind of just stuck with a point where I'm not sure where to put it, honestly. But the point is, or the purpose is just to get to Ember Storm, which increases all damage done by fire spells by 10%. So again, we're just making Searing Pain our primary attacking move, because it is going to be your primary single target attack as a tanking Warlock. So going all in on destruction like this and buffing it up. I took out the 5 points, so I have an extra 5 points to spend. I'm not sure where I want to spend it though. If I recall, there isn't anything over here. Ooh, you could get Siphon Life if you can pick. What would be good? If you're gonna go for Siphon Life, you could probably do this. So you get the damage output and and a little bit of the self-sustain of affliction. So this one, you don't get the full HP self-sustain benefits, but you're going to be doing a whole lot more damage and holding threat much more easily. I could see this one being better in high damage comps, where you're going to be competing with that aggro. For your DPS are going to want to be greedy and go all in, so you're probably going to want to make Searing Pain as powerful as possible to just spam the crap out of it, right? But then still get the improved life tap and ways to heal yourself back up after doing life tap. And then of course this means for pretty much all of these, I picked the drain life being a dot, because that's just way better than having to channel it unless you're doing the full affliction style that might pay off for you with Soul Siphon. But yeah, so pretty much that's the way I see Warlock playing out in Season of Discovery. In the long run, obviously there's going to be way more runes, different gear, all these different attributes that change it. But based on my limited knowledge and just theory crafting, effectively what Warlock becomes is, if you want more self-sustain, more ways to heal yourself, you go with Affliction. If you want raw mitigation, damage reduction, shields, ways to offload some of your damage, you go Demonology. And utility. Demonology comes with way more utility than the other ones. And then if you want better damage and aggro holding, you go with Destruction. So it's really interesting how this DPS class completely changes, like with the introduction of a tank stance. Because any other tanking spec or tanking specialization in Classic WoW, you have to think between Warrior, Paladin, Druid, they have a dedicated tree that's all built around playing into that part of their class. But for these new tanking stances for old DPS classes, where we're going to have, you know, Hunter, Rogue, Shaman, and Warlock, you're effectively taking 2 to 3 DPS trees and figuring out what's the best way to turn this into a tank across these talent trees. And again, it's going to completely change as we get more runes. But yeah, it's just interesting how you have to convert these DPS talent trees into... In fact, I'm just going to log off right now. I need to start getting over to Final Fantasy. Max is peak.